This is the QTV Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM, and I'm Loliam Kamara. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines, and we apologize for the late start. President Adama Barrow was among several heads of state and dignitaries who attended President Denis Sassou Nguesso's inauguration following his 15 March election, extending his long rule in power since 1979. A new nationwide survey by the Center for Policy Research and Strategic Studies, CEPROS, shows that many Gambians are increasingly concerned about rising prices and the growing cost of living across the country. The Gambia Radio and Television Services, the country's state-owned broadcaster, on Thursday hosted the opening ceremony of the 17th General Assembly of the African Union of Broadcasting. The National Radio and Television Services, or Television Administration of China, together with Gambian broadcasters QTV and GRTS, signed a licensing agreement to facilitate content sharing. The Gambia Red Cross Society, in partnership with Q Money Mobile Service for secure and efficient payments, has launched the second and final phase of its nationwide cash transfer distribution under the ECHO's Humanitarian Assistance Project. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. The President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, has been sworn in for a new 5-year term on Thursday after his 15 March election, where he secured over 94% of the votes. The ceremony marks his continuation in power since 1979. Mamadou Gajaga has more.
The inauguration ceremony, which gives the 82-year-old leader another 5-year mandate, was attended by several heads of state, including Adama Barrow, President of the Gambia, John Dramani Mahama, President of Ghana, Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, President Lorenzo of Angola, Felix Tshisekedi, President of neighboring DRC Congo, and many others. While Kyochimba Mokemen, Kenyan Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration, represented Kenyan President William Ruto. The United States of America was represented by Deputy Undersecretary of State for Refugees and Migration, Edhard Christian. The Constitutional Court confirmed the final results, giving Sassou Nguesso 94.9% of the votes on a 65.9% turnout, ensuring his continued leadership for the 2026 to 2031 period. If he completes his term, by which time he would be 87 years old, he would have served 51 years in office, thus making him one of the longest-serving leaders in the world. Following his inauguration at a long, nearly 6 hours long ceremony at the National Stadium in the capital, Brazzaville, his fellow heads of state, including President Adama Barrow, took in turns to greet and congratulate him. The election was marked by a low turnout, allegations of limited opposition, and concerns regarding transparency from critics. The inauguration represents the continuation of his tenure, which is framed officially as his final constitutional term. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
A new nationwide survey by the Center for Policy Research and Strategic Studies, CEPROS, suggests that many Gambians are increasingly worried about the state of the economy. Rising prices and the cost of living are now at the center of daily struggles for households across the country. Usman Jada reports.
Public perception of the economy remains largely negative. Only 18% of respondents describe the economy as good, while a significant majority, 76%, say it is either fairly bad or very bad. The survey also points to concerns over how the economy is being managed, with around 68% of respondents expressing dissatisfaction with economic governance. But for many Gambians, the issue is more immediate. The rising cost of living continues to hike, with 3 out of 4 respondents saying the government is handling prices poorly. Inflation stands out as the single most pressing issue shaping public opinion. In December 2025, the governor of the central bank said inflation was going down. When asked about the country's biggest economic challenge, 44% pointed to rising prices, well ahead of agriculture at 21% and unemployment at 14%, while perceptions of personal living conditions are slightly less severe, they still lean negatively. Nearly half of respondents described their situation as difficult, although just over a third say their lives have improved. Amid risk of facing significant downsides from global geopolitical tensions and climate change, recent assessments by the International Monetary Fund (IMF) indicate that the Gambia's economy is on a recovery path with steady growth and easing inflation expected in the coming years. The survey findings suggest that for many households, these broader economic improvements are yet to be felt. Across the regions, dissatisfaction is evident, particularly in urban centers such as Brikama, Kanifing and Banjul, where a large number of respondents describe the economy as bad. Overall, the data paints a picture of a population grappling with rising prices as the cost of living becomes an increasingly defining issue in everyday life. Osman Jatta, QTV News.
The Gambia Radio and Television Services (GRTS), the country's state-owned broadcaster, on Thursday hosted the opening ceremony of the 17th General Assembly of the African Union of Broadcasting. The four-day event, which began on April 14th, is held under the theme Heritage, Innovation and Transformation. Mam Nabuka was in attendance and she filed this report.
This assembly marks a double milestone celebrating both the annual gathering of the continent's most influential media minds as well as some from outside the continent, and the 20th anniversary of the African Union of Broadcasting. Over the past 2 decades, the AUB has evolved into the continent's largest media body, representing 85 members across the public and private sectors and advancing every segment of the radio and television industry to ensure that authentic African stories reach a global audience. However, as delegates gather in the Gambia, the atmosphere is one of urgent reflection on the challenges facing the current media ecosystem, shaped by rapid technological shifts and a fundamental overhaul in how audiences consume content. As a result, 4 primary pillars are chosen to dominate discussions, including a comprehensive review of Africa's progress in broadcasting independence and representation over the past 2 decades, the skyrocketing cost of sports media rights, new funding models, and digital innovation. Here is Abdoulaye C., the Director General of GRTS.
Together, we carry the responsibility of saving narratives, preserving our cultural heritage, promoting unity, and supporting development across our nations. As the national broadcaster of the Gambia, GRTS remains committed to reform, innovation, and partnerships.
Cleophas Barore, president of the AUB, said the current global security and economic pressures make media resilience in Africa a necessity, stressing that technology and innovation are not luxuries but essential requirements for meeting the continent's evolving expectations and realities. Gambia's Minister of Information, Dr. Ismaila Cisse, using the Gambia as a proud example, centered his speech on the importance of media freedom in sustaining vibrant democracies and ensuring the success of such initiatives. He also expressed optimism about the progress and developments expected to emerge from the Assembly.
We remain fully committed to safeguarding press freedom, strengthening legal protections for journalists, and fostering a media environment anchored in professionalism, ethics, and public trust. Strong broadcasters are so central to combating misinformation and disinformation, preserving our heritage, promoting innovation, and projecting a dignified African identity in the global media stage. Distinguished delegates, I encourage you to further strengthen cooperation among African broadcasters, embrace innovation, and reaffirm the values of media fraternity. This will entrench the media as a more powerful driver of social transformation, economic development, and cultural continuity.
As proceedings continue until April 17th, the Assembly's mandate remains to ensure that the next 20 years of African broadcasting are defined not merely by survival, but by a technologically advanced, financially sustainable, and authentically African media voice on the global stage. Mamna Buka, reporting for QTV News.
We'll now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more national news stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, and this is QTV News, and I am Lolly M. Camara. In a significant move to further strengthen China-Gambia relations, the National Radio and Television Administration of China, NRTA, together with Gambian broadcasters QTV and GRTS, signed a licensing agreement to facilitate content sharing. Mam Nabuka has the details.
Under the newly signed agreement, NRTA has granted non-exclusive broadcasting rights for a diverse portfolio of content, ranging from high-budget television drama series, movies, documentaries, and animated cartoons to its Gambian counterparts free of charge, effective from January 1st, 2026 through to December 31st, 2026. Significantly, the content is prioritized to be accessible to local audiences with the provision of subtitles and dubbing. In exchange, QTV and GRTS are tasked with providing valuable market data and audience feedback, which will be channeled back to China through the Chinese embassy. This feedback loop is part of China's approach to better nurture diplomatic relationships based on genuine impactful exchange rather than just assistance. Here are Malik Ka, Managing Director of QTV, and Abdullah C, Director General of GRTS, on the significance of the agreement.
We would express our gratitude for the opportunity that is given to build the bridges between people to people, media to media, and then I think we will grow going forward. It can only be a good thing in terms of content, in terms of relationship, broadening the minds of our young people, exposing them to the level of development that China is registering as a leader in the global context. So we are appreciative at QTV.
You are a leader in many aspects: IT, artificial intelligence, EV, and many other things. And we will want to share experiences with China. And that can only be done by people-to-people exchange. It's very, very important. If Chinese people understand Gambians culturally, socially, and we understand them as well, it will just strengthen our cooperation.
The timing of the agreement is particularly symbolic as 2026 marks exactly 10 years since the restoration of diplomatic relations between China and the Gambia. It also follows a substantial 100 million yuan grant signed earlier this year to support small-scale projects tailored to national development priorities, as well as a formalized cooperation plan under the Belt and Road Initiative. Also significantly, the 2026 China-Africa Year of People-to-People Exchanges was officially launched on January 8, 2026, at the AU headquarters, aiming to deepen cultural ties, enhance mutual learning, and mark 70 years of diplomatic relations between Africa and China. His Excellency Liu Jin, China's ambassador to the Gambia, praised the advancement of China-Gambia relations over the years, expressing the hope that this licensing agreement, rooted in the principles of mutual benefit and friendship, will further enhance the relationship by bridging the cultural gap between the two nations through the power of television. Here is Chang Jin, a second-grade counsel at the International Cooperation Department of the NRTA.
Personally, in China, I have been invited to give lectures to the international training program, and in those programs, I had an impression that the participation from the Gambia in those workshops was quite active, and indeed, some of the trainees sent us a report on their experience in China and suggested ways of cooperation between Gambia and China in the field of radio and TV. TV and audiovisual products, especially in the era of digital transition. So it's a very good opportunity to be involved in this signing ceremony, so as we can contribute Chinese good quality programs for the Gambian audience through the great support of your esteemed organizations.
The official signing of this agreement seals a deep-seated professional alliance, establishing a cultural bridge that aligns China and the Gambia towards a unified and shared vision for the future. Mam Nabuka, reporting for QTV News.
The Gambia Red Cross Society, in partnership with Q Money Mobile Service for secure and efficient payments, has launched the second and final phase of its nationwide cash transfer distribution under the ECOWAS Humanitarian Assistance Project. The initiative aims to support vulnerable groups across the country. More in this report. The second phase of the cash transfer distribution exercise is underway across the Gambia, running from 15 to 28 April 2026. The intervention targets vulnerable populations, including internally displaced persons, refugees, asylum seekers, and stateless persons. Funded by ECOWAS and implemented in collaboration with the government of the Gambia and the Gambia Red Cross Society, the initiative provides direct financial assistance to help beneficiaries meet essential needs, including food, education, and health care. Abdullah Fai is the Acting Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society.
Through this ECOWAS Humanitarian Assistance Project, we are reaching 2,114 vulnerable individuals across all the regions of the Gambia. And that is to say 1,774 people that were affected by disasters, especially floods during the 2023 rainy season. And 340 refugees, asylum seekers, and stateless persons.
Commissioner Ibrahim Amani of the Gambia Immigration Department's Commission of Refugees described the initiative as a demonstration of the government's commitment to supporting both citizens and non-citizens in times of need.
A testimony to this, like alluded to by the previous speakers, include a range of other activities that will be followed by this occasion that we are witnessing here. I want to take this opportunity to most sincerely thank the Gambia Red Cross Society for the leadership and the determination they have shown throughout the beginning of this project.
Biliki Sise, an economist at the Ministry of Trade on behalf of ECOWAS National Office, highlighted the importance of collective action and called on stakeholders to continue strengthening collaboration in addressing humanitarian challenges.
We reaffirm our commitment to transparency, accountability, and impact. We call upon all stakeholders to continue working together to ensure that the resources provided translate into meaningful improvements in the life of the beneficiaries.
Malang N. Fofana, the Director General of the National Nutrition Agency, emphasized the importance of using the funds wisely, urging beneficiaries to prioritize their most pressing needs. To ensure transparency and accountability in the disbursement process, the Gambia Red Cross Society has partnered with Q Money Mobile Service for secure and efficient payments. Modu BK Sise, the head of operations at NDMA, expressed appreciation to ECOWAS and partners for supporting humanitarian efforts in the Gambia. Mariama Kamara, a beneficiary speaking on behalf of other beneficiaries, says this support is more than just financial relief, but is a step towards rebuilding lives and restoring dignity to people. As the final phase unfolds, stakeholders say the initiative will not only address immediate needs, but also lay the foundation for sustainable livelihoods through complementary interventions such as vocational training and the provision of solar-powered boreholes. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara. The ongoing Global Health Outreach (WHO) medical mission in Brikama Jamisa is witnessing a significant turnout, with hundreds of people accessing free healthcare services since the start of treatment earlier this week. Jacqueline Colley tells us more.
The outreach, led by a team of international medical professionals, is offering a wide range of services including dentistry, pediatric care, occupational therapy, eye care, and psychological support. At the dental unit, Dr. Jonas, a dentist, reports a high number of patients presenting with severe tooth decay and other preventable oral conditions, noting that many of these issues stem from poor oral hygiene practices.
Some of the dental conditions we've been seeing, people who have broken down teeth, a lot of decay, they want sealants, or what we call in the United States fillings. People need cleanings, their teeth are very loose. So we've been seeing a lot of that. Yeah. Several different things. Poor oral hygiene, like definitely brush your teeth, definitely floss, staying away from Fantas, Coke, Sprite, things like that.
The occupational therapy unit is also recording a steady progress in the condition of many patients, particularly those recovering from stroke-related conditions. Dr. Stephanie Foster, a therapist, says more patients who began treatment earlier in the week are already showing signs of improvement through daily therapy sessions.
I had a 2-year-old yesterday who just wasn't talking, and instead of talking, they were throwing major fits, and we just helped them learn to say some very basic color words. And then I had another girl, she's 4, and she had cerebral palsy, which meant that her muscles aren't working.
Dr. Foster also provides an overview of what these patients truly need to improve and become more independent.
Our little girl who's coming in for lunchtime today, she had difficulty at birth, and so she was born with some severe injuries, and then they just don't go away, and so she needs regular therapy to get better and be able to do things for herself. We need, prevention is the best, right? Prevention. So for a little girl, it's prenatal care. So doctor's care in the womb before she's born. For the little girl who's 2 and not speaking, she really needs a good speech therapist, someone who can help and guide the family to help this child to speak and give them other ways to deal with their stress.
Meanwhile, psychological consultations have revealed a growing number of cases related to depression and anxiety. Psychologist Dr. Chuck Nisia highlighted that many patients, particularly women, express emotional distress linked to infertility and fears of marital instability.
And it's a real heartache when conception doesn't occur, or conception occurs but is followed by a miscarriage. So there are women and couples who go for sometimes many years doing all the things the doctor tells them to do, doing all the things to become pregnant, and it doesn't happen. That can lead to depression.
Dr. Misia further stressed the importance of addressing the stigma surrounding mental health.
What I want to say is when you're depressed, it does not mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean that. If you have anxiety or nervousness, it does not mean you're crazy. I know that sometimes people think, well, if I'm going to talk to a psychologist, well, I must be crazy, they're going to lock me up. No, that's not the case at all. So you can come to a person like myself. We're here for the next couple of days. Please come and talk to me, and I will help you think through depression and anxiety.
The medical outreach is expected to conclude on Friday, with organizers continuing to encourage the public to take full advantage of the free services while they remain available. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jacqueline Coley.
That's all we have for you in this news bulletin. Do join us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. for more news. Thanks for watching.